Germany still looks like an industrial heavyweight. The logos are familiar. The exports keep moving. The numbers, at first glance, seem reassuring. But inside the factories that built this reputation, something is changing. Production lines are being paused, not expanded. Investment plans are being rewritten. And in boardrooms across the country, conversations have quietly shifted from growth to exit strategies. Not loudly, not publicly, but deliberately. For decades, Germany wasn't just another European economy. It was a manufacturing backbone of the continent. Cars, machinery, chemicals, precision tools. When supply chains mattered, Germany was where they ended. That status didn't disappear overnight. It's being eroded. Energy costs that no longer fit industrial logic. Regulations designed for stability, colliding with a faster global market. A labor force growing older, while younger workers become scarce. And competitors abroad building factories faster, cheaper, and with fewer constraints. From the outside, the system still looks intact. Employment figures remain strong. Global brands still dominate headlines. The idea that Germany is too important to weaken remains comforting. Inside, the signals are less confident. Factories are relocating parts of their operations. New investments are heading elsewhere. And the words once avoided, outsourcing, restructuring, downsizing, are becoming routine. This raises a difficult question. Is Germany witnessing a temporary industrial adjustment or the early stages of a deeper shift? Because when manufacturing moves, influence follows. And when Germany adjusts its industrial role, Europe doesn't stay unaffected. Tonight, we're stepping past the reputation and into the mechanics, past the exports and into the trade-offs, past the image of permanence to examine the pressures reshaping Europe's most important industrial economy. Take a moment to like the video and subscribe. It helps more than you think. Now, let's start where the confidence begins to thin. Germany did not just build an economy. It built a legend. After the rubble of World War II settled, Germany did something extraordinary. It rebuilt itself not through speculation, not through flashy finance, but through factories. Steel plants roared back to life. Assembly lines stretched across cities. Engineers became national heroes. And manufacturing became a moral virtue. Made in Germany stopped being a label. It became a warning to competitors. For decades, this model worked almost flawlessly. Cars from Bavaria dominated highways across the world. German machines ran factories in Asia, Africa, and the Americas. Chemical plants powered global supply chains. Germany wasn't loud about its success. It didn't need to be. The numbers spoke for it. And that's why the current moment feels so unsettling. Because myths don't usually collapse with explosions. They fade quietly. In recent years, German manufacturing output has begun to slip. Not dramatically, not suddenly, but consistently. Month after month, production figures weaken, orders slow, factories shorten shifts. The kind of signals economists hate because they're subtle, persistent, and hard to reverse. What makes this dangerous is perception. To the outside world, Germany still looks unshakable. Unemployment remains relatively low. Global brands still shine. Politicians still speak the language of stability. But underneath that polished surface, cracks are forming. Executives now speak less about expansion and more about restructuring. Trade unions prepare for negotiations they hoped would never come. And entire regions built around manufacturing begin to feel nervous. The problem isn't that Germany forgot how to build things. The problem is that the world around Germany changed faster than Germany expected. For years, industrial success bred confidence. Confidence bred caution. And caution slowly turned into rigidity. Systems that once guaranteed strength became slow to adapt. Regulations thickened. Costs rose. Decisions took longer. Meanwhile, competitors moved faster. Germany's industrial myth was built on precision, not speed. On reliability, not risk. But in a world racing toward rapid technological shifts, that strength has started to look like a vulnerability. And here's the contradiction. Germany still produces some of the most advanced machinery on Earth. yet struggles to scale new industries fast enough. It champions innovation, but hesitates when innovation disrupts tradition. This is not decline in the dramatic sense. It is erosion, and erosion is more dangerous because it's easier to ignore. As this myth begins to fade, one uncomfortable question emerges. If Germany's industrial strength was never invincible, what happens when the numbers finally catch up with the legend? And those numbers are already whispering. Economies lie, data doesn't. And lately, Germany's industrial numbers have stopped being polite. Official statistics tell a story that feels nothing like the confident speeches. Manufacturing output has repeatedly contracted, month after month. Production slips, especially in sectors that once defined German dominance. Automobiles, mechanical engineering, heavy industry. These aren't fringe industries. They are the backbone. New factory orders are down. Export demand is softer. Capacity utilization, how much of a factory's potential is actually being used, is falling. That's economist language for machines sitting idle. And idle machines don't just cost money. They drain confidence. Hiring slows first. Then temporary contracts disappear. Then investment plans quietly get postponed. The layoffs often come last, when the damage is already done. What's especially alarming is the comparison. These numbers are approaching levels last seen during the pandemic. Except this time, there's no global lockdown to blame, no emergency shock, just weakness. That's when economists start using words like structural, which is a polite way of saying this isn't fixing itself. The labor market tells the same story. Manufacturing job growth has stalled. In some regions, it's reversing. Skilled workers retire faster than new ones enter. Apprenticeships go unfilled, and firms that once competed for talent now hesitate to hire at all. Even business sentiment surveys, usually optimistic by design, have turned cautious. German executives report declining expectations, especially in export-heavy sectors. This matters because Germany doesn't consume its way to growth. It exports its way there. When exports weaken, everything else follows. And then there's productivity, the holy grail of economic strength. For years, Germany relied on productivity gains to offset high wages and strict regulations. But productivity growth has slowed, just as costs accelerate, which leads to a quiet but brutal math problem. If costs rise faster than output, margins shrink, investment falls, and production looks elsewhere. No dramatic collapse, just slow relocation. This isn't panic territory yet, but it is warning light territory. And warnings are only useful if someone listens, because the numbers aren't screaming. They're doing something far more dangerous. They're calmly, consistently telling Germany that the old model is under strain. And the biggest strain of all is energy. Factories don't run on reputation. They run on power. For decades, Germany enjoyed a simple industrial advantage: reliable energy at predictable prices. That stability allowed manufacturers to plan decades ahead, to invest confidently, to compete globally despite high wages. Then the system changed. Germany made a historic bet, shutting down nuclear power, accelerating renewable energy, and relying heavily on imported natural gas. For a while, it worked. Energy was cheap, supply was steady, industry thrived, until geopolitics intervened. Russia's invasion of Ukraine didn't just redraw borders. It rewired Germany's cost structure. Gas prices surged, electricity prices followed, and energy-intensive industries, chemicals, metals, glass, were suddenly fighting battles they never planned for. Factories that once ran 24 hours a day began scaling back. Some shut lines entirely. Others quietly explored relocation to countries with cheaper energy, not because they wanted to, because they had to. Compared to competitors in the United States or parts of Asia, German firms now face significantly higher energy costs. And in manufacturing, cost differences don't need to be dramatic to be decisive. A few percentage points can determine where the next factory is built or whether it's built at all. This created a contradiction at the heart of Germany's economy. The country wants to lead the green transition, but the transition is making its industries less competitive, at least in the short term. Subsidies help, but they don't eliminate uncertainty. Temporary relief doesn't replace long-term predictability, and manufacturers don't invest billions based on political promises alone. So they wait, or they leave. Energy policy, once an afterthought, has become a central economic risk, and every delayed decision compounds the pressure. Germany didn't lose factories overnight. It made them expensive to run. And when costs rise quietly, factories disappear quietly too. Next, we follow where they're going and who's replacing them. For decades, Germany competed on quality, and quality always won. While others raced the bottom on price, German manufacturers stayed at the top. Precision, durability, engineering excellence. If you wanted the best, you paid more, and customers did, until they didn't have to. Because somewhere along the way, the global industrial map was quietly redrawn. China stopped being just the world's factory. It became the world's competitor. Chinese firms climbed the value chain faster than most analysts predicted. They mastered advanced manufacturing, automation, clean technology, and electric vehicles, the very sectors Germany once considered its safe territory. And suddenly, German exporters weren't competing with low-cost producers anymore. They were competing with rivals offering similar quality at lower prices with massive state backing. This shift didn't happen overnight. It crept in through export data, market share losses, and pricing pressure. German machinery firms found themselves bidding against Chinese companies and losing. German car makers faced competitors that could scale electric vehicles faster and cheaper. Even more unsettling, these competitors were learning quickly. Germany's industrial model was built on incremental improvement, small refinements, long product cycles, a culture of perfection before release. But global competition now rewards speed, flexibility, and risk-taking. And Germany's advantage, being careful, started to look like hesitation. Trade relationships also changed. Emerging markets that once relied on German equipment now had alternatives. Some cheaper, some faster to deliver, some politically aligned with new power centers. The world didn't abandon Germany. It diversified away from it. And in global trade, diversification is silent but deadly. Exports still exist. German brands still command respect. But the monopoly on excellence is gone. And once exclusivity disappears, margins follow. This isn't failure. It's competition, finally arriving at Germany's doorstep. And competition, as it turns out, doesn't care about legacy. Factories need machines, but they also need people. And Germany is running short on both at the same time. One of the least dramatic but most dangerous forces reshaping Germany's industrial future is demographics. The workforce is aging, retirements are accelerating, and fewer young workers are stepping in to replace decades of accumulated experience. For years, this problem was theoretical, a line in reports, a chart in presentations, something for future governments to handle. That future has arrived. Skilled trades, machinists, electricians, technicians, are increasingly hard to fill. Apprenticeships go unclaimed. Companies report shortages not just of labor, but of specific, hard-earned skills that take years to develop. And here's the irony. Germany has jobs. Germany has factories. But Germany struggles to match people to positions. Part of this is demographic math. Low birth rates mean fewer young workers. Longer life expectancy means more retirees. Immigration helps, but integration into high-skill manufacturing takes time, training, and political consensus. Another part is cultural transition. Young workers are less attracted to traditional factory roles. The image of manufacturing, long shifts, rigid structures, struggles to compete with tech, services, or remote work. Even when factories modernize, perceptions lag behind reality. This creates a slow squeeze. Fewer workers mean higher labor costs. Higher labor costs mean thinner margins. Thinner margins reduce investment. And once again, factories hesitate. Germany's strength was once its disciplined, skilled workforce. Today, that strength is aging out of the system, faster than replacements can be trained. And without people, even the best machines fall silent. If Germany has an industrial soul, it's shaped like a car. The automotive sector isn't just an industry. It's culture, it's pride. It's millions of jobs directly and indirectly tied to production, suppliers, logistics, and exports, which is why what's happening now feels existential. German carmakers built their dominance on combustion engines, complex, precise, mechanically beautiful, engineering masterpieces that took decades to perfect. Then came electric vehicles, and suddenly, complexity became a disadvantage. Electric drivetrains require fewer parts, less mechanical magic, more software, more batteries, more supply chains Germany doesn't fully control. Asian competitors, especially from China, embraced this shift early. They scaled fast, they priced aggressively, and they entered markets Germany once dominated. Meanwhile, German automakers face a dilemma: move fast and risk abandoning decades of expertise. Move slow and risk losing relevance. Some tried both and satisfied neither. Margins shrank. Transition costs rose. Factories built for combustion engines became expensive to repurpose. Jobs tied to old technologies face uncertainty. And the ripple effects were brutal. Suppliers dependent on engine components saw orders drop. Regional economies tied to auto clusters felt the pressure. What once powered Germany's export machine now weighed it down. This isn't just an industry adapting, it's an identity crisis. Germany's greatest industrial success story is now its greatest test. And how it resolves that test will determine whether the country adapts or stalls. Next, we confront the quiet killer behind it all: investment hesitation and the fear of betting on the future. Factories don't disappear first. Confidence does. Long before machines are shut down or workers are laid off, something quieter happens inside boardrooms across Germany. Meetings stretch longer. Decisions are delayed. Investment plans get rewritten, then postponed, then shelved. German industry is not collapsing. It's hesitating. Business surveys reveal a worrying pattern. Companies are cutting back on capital expenditure, not because they lack money, but because they lack certainty. Energy prices fluctuate. Regulations evolve mid-project. Global demand feels unpredictable. And geopolitical risk has become a permanent background noise. In that environment, caution feels rational. But caution has a cost. When firms delay investment, productivity stagnates. Old machinery runs longer than planned. Digital upgrades wait for better timing. Automation projects get trimmed. And slowly, competitors pull ahead, not by being smarter, but by moving faster. This is where Germany's traditional strength becomes a weakness. The German model values precision, planning, and risk minimization. It rewards long-term thinking. But today's industrial race rewards speed, experimentation, and tolerance for failure. Other countries subsidize aggressively. Others streamline approvals. Others accept inefficiency today for dominance tomorrow. Germany debates. And while it debates, factories age. Investment hesitation doesn't make headlines. It doesn't trigger panic. But over time, it erodes competitiveness more effectively than any crisis. Because factories don't vanish overnight. They simply stop being upgraded. And once that happens, the decision to relocate becomes inevitable, not emotional, but mathematical. Germany is not just another economy. It's the anchor. As the largest manufacturing power in Europe, Germany sits at the center of a vast web of supply chains. Components cross borders daily. Polish suppliers check factories, Italian manufacturers, all depend on German demand. So when German factories slow down, the shockwaves travel. Exports weaken across the Eurozone. Orders decline in neighboring countries. Investment decisions get delayed, not just in Berlin or Munich, but in Warsaw, Vienna, and Milan. This is why Germany's industrial challenges matter far beyond its borders. A weaker German economy drags down overall European growth. It strains public finances. It complicates monetary policy. And it forces smaller economies to adjust to a slowdown they didn't cause but can't escape. Even politically, the effects are profound. Germany has long been Europe's stabilizer. Its economic strength underpinned EU solidarity, bailout mechanisms, and long-term integration. A Germany under pressure becomes more cautious, more inward-looking, less willing to shoulder collective risk. And that changes Europe. This isn't theoretical. It's already visible. Growth forecasts get revised downward. Confidence weakens. And the idea of Europe as a unified economic powerhouse starts to feel fragile. Germany's factories don't just produce goods. They produce stability. And when that stability wavers, everyone notices. Chapter 9. Is this really deindustrialization? Germany is losing factories. It sounds dramatic. It sounds terminal. But is it actually true? Here's where the story becomes complicated. Germany still has one of the highest manufacturing shares of GDP among advanced economies. It still hosts world-leading firms. It still exports complex, high-value goods at scale. What's changing is how it manufactures. Some production is moving abroad, not disappearing. Some factories are shifting toward fewer units but higher value. Automation replaces labor. Services grow around industry instead of replacing it. This is not collapse. It's transformation. But transformation is messy. Volume declines feel like loss. Job reductions feel like failure. Communities built around traditional factories struggle to adapt to abstract concepts like advanced manufacturing ecosystems. And politically, nuance is unpopular. It's easier to say Germany is deindustrializing than to explain structural evolution. Easier to blame globalization than confront domestic reform failures. The truth sits uncomfortably in between. Germany is losing some factories. It is upgrading others. And it is undecided about the rest. The danger isn't change itself. It's unmanaged change. Without clear strategy, transitions create losers faster than winners. And social trust erodes when people feel left behind by forces they don't control or understand. So the question isn't whether Germany is deindustrializing. It's whether Germany is steering the process or being dragged by it to collapse. It is not becoming irrelevant, and it is not finished. But it is at a crossroads. The loss of factories is real. The pressures are structural. And without decisive policy responses on energy investment, labor, and innovation, the erosion will continue, quietly, persistently. And that's the most dangerous kind of decline, because it doesn't force action. It invites delay. Germany still has the tools to reverse course. World-class firms, skilled institutions, global trust. But these advantages are not permanent. They must be defended, renewed, and sometimes reinvented. So should anyone be worried? Workers should be concerned. Policymakers should be alert. Europe should be paying attention, not with panic, but with urgency. Because Germany's future isn't about whether factories leave. It's about whether the next generation of factories ever arrives. And what happens next may redefine Europe's economic story for decades to come. But that future is a story for another